Everybody, my name is Ron Cecil. I'm a men's life coach based in Portland, Oregon, and the co-host of the podcast Cutting for Sign. I am talking to you from the beautiful and epic Forest Park in Portland, Oregon. This place is actually in the middle of the city. There's the burbs on one side and the city on the other. But the reason I jumped on here today is because I wanted to talk to you about my experience of getting diagnosed with ADHD as an adult. About 5 years ago, I was experiencing, if I remember correctly, some difficulties in my career where a lot more responsibility was placed on me, and I was having difficulty getting honed in and staying focused on things that were really stressful. In fact, the more there was at stake in the experience, the harder it was to focus. I was talking to a mentor of mine at the time and explaining my symptoms with him and explaining also my history with school and things like that. And I'll go back a little bit in that experience. I was a solid B and C student growing up. Even in elementary school, I didn't do much better than that. And I would get my report cards back. In fact, I found one the other day, and the comments from the teacher says, Ronnie's a great student. He's a good kid. He's really smart. And if he could just focus, if he could sit still, he would get better grades. And no matter what they did, no matter where they put me in the classroom, no matter what happened to me, I couldn't do it. So I was talking to my mentor about this, and he's, man, it sounds like you might have ADHD. Have you gotten diagnosed for that? And I think as a Gen Xer, I had just missed the window. In other words, I think it became more common for people to talk about it a little bit later than my time coming up in school and growing up. And I said, I've heard about it. When I've heard symptoms of it, it sounds like something I've been dealing with, but I've just never fully checked it out. So I decided to get serious, and I went to a doctor, kind of hoping that they would just give me pills, to be honest, just thinking, man, if they just can give me this like magic bullet experience, then I'll do better. And for number one, it took me a while to find a doctor. So I think that's something, if you're wondering, if you're struggling with something that might feel like ADHD, if you're struggling with something that might feel like you can't quite follow up with the things that you say you want to do, you have really good ideas in the front end, and then somewhere along the way you burn out, you lose gas, you get discouraged, and then it feels impossible to take the next step. And you're wondering, like, is there something I can do about this? First thing to do is go talk to a mental health care professional. And here's something you got to know. And I think this is more true as mental health is becoming more common, in the sense that's a tool we want to use, right? We want to get that into our life. There's a high demand for mental health care professionals. So high, it might take weeks or months for you to connect with one of them. I think that's why you see these online solutions so often. So just know it might take you a while. Know it might be a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails that you're gonna have to send, but you are worth it. Your mental health is worth fighting for, so get after it. Once I finally found one, I thought I'd go in and just tell her that I had it, and then she would be like, okay, here's the drug. And thankfully I found a good person who goes, tell me more about it. And really, she had me go through a long-term diagnostic, right? I think it took me a total of 4 sessions. So in other words, about 4 hours, because there was the first one I went in, we had a conversation about it, and then there were 3 more 1-hour sessions where I went through an exhaustive list of questions that went back from my childhood all the way to adulthood, and asked hundreds of questions to really understand, is this diagnosis correct for me? And we get to the end of it after all those hours, and she goes, this is my memory, I don't know if she actually said this, but she goes, congrats, you have ADHD. So I go, great, what do I do now? Leaning into, are you gonna hand me a pill? That was what I was hoping. Because God, wouldn't it be great if you just had this thing that like just made life easier? So she goes, your age, your family history, I've got a family history of heart problems. Stimulants probably aren't your best bet. So let's try some other things. And I go, where do I start? And she goes, well, let's get serious about a few things. Let's like focus on 2 or 3 things and start there. And I go, great, what do I need to do? And she goes, let's start with your diet and nutrition, your nutrition and exercise. So she started me there. And so I reached out to somebody who I knew was an expert in that world, and I got help. and I lost over 40 pounds. I got fit. I made exercise a daily part of my life. I made my nutrition a daily conscious idea in my head. In other words, I was spending a little bit of time every day thinking about what was going into my body and treating myself well. So then she goes, let's work on your social life. So we stepped into what it looks like to have a healthier and more robust and supportive social life. So she literally had me name particular people in my life to hang out with. And interestingly, if you've ever listened to my podcast, Cutting for Sign, one of those people was Daniel Penner-Klein, my co-host on there, who was a close friend of mine at the time, and we've only gotten closer as the years have gone by. And the third thing that she got me into was a lot of what you've been telling me about and talking about the way that you've been feeling is what some people would call a depression is actually just a symptom of ADHD. And I thought about that for a while. I go, okay, what's my next step? She goes, well, let's actually put you on a low dose antidepressant, a non-stimulant. And I said, okay. And so I started that, and that was really, 2017, so 5 years ago was my experience getting into understanding ADHD. Now, a couple things that I've done beyond that have been a great service to me is I have read a lot of books on ADHD. There's a lot of theories around why it exists. It's a mysterious thing out there. Some people believe it comes from childhood trauma. I don't disagree with that. Not that I would know, but in my experience, having had childhood trauma and the people in my life that I've either been friends with or coached or whatever that is something that is a commonality, that if someone's struggling with their attention, they're struggling with feeling good about who they are, there's often childhood trauma involved. One of the other theories I've heard around it is that the human brain hasn't evolved past the hunter-gatherer phase of life. And so there's these kind of two brain types. One brain type might be the hunter-gatherer, and the other brain type might be the farmer. And there are those of us whose brain hasn't evolved past the hunter-gatherer into the farmer. And we're just not built for that kind of monotonous, routine lifestyle that farming created for humanity. I don't know. That kind of sounds fun. But what I've learned is that my brain needs a certain amount of stimulation beyond what my life at the time was giving it. So if you've listened to my video on depression, you know that I got really serious in treating that the same way, because it's kind of, there's this intermingling of depression and ADHD for me. And that is, I got serious about my health. I got serious about my exercise. I got serious about my sleep, my water intake. Ooh, it's raining harder. I got serious about fun and hobbies and my social life. And I need all of those things. I need every tool in the toolbox to help me out. So if you are struggling with any of these things, if you've been struggling with anxiety, depression, or ADHD, number one, go talk to a doctor. Go slow. Know that it's going to take time. There is not a fast way to get through this. It's going to be frustrating. I know that our brains, especially now, live on what I call Amazon Prime Time, right? Like we feel like we should have it and we should have it now. And once we know how something works, then therefore our brain should be fixed or the solution should be there. Unfortunately, that's just not the case. Things take time. Things will go much slower than you want them to. So go get help, reach out to some friends, reach out to a mental health care professional, make a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails to get the connections. If you don't have insurance, look into a state-assisted program. I know that lots of states, if you earn below a certain amount of money, have healthcare that is super affordable. Where I live here in Oregon, it's incredible. It's an incredible state-assisted healthcare program. So check that out. Take care of yourself. And if you've had some success with some of the things that I have mentioned in this video, please leave a comment below and let other people know what's helped you. And hopefully someone will read one of those things and go take the next step as well. Take care, everybody.